You will truly understand this once you experience it. Why is it important to watch this video? Because by the end of it, you will learn how to reach your goals much faster and with far less effort. You will save yourself years of trial and error. I speak from experience, years in business, countless mistakes, and many challenges along the way. Now, I want to share with you a few key principles, real secrets, that are essential if you want to achieve any of your goals. If you internalize what I'm about to tell you, I guarantee you'll put in significantly less effort and reach your targets much faster. Here's the main problem most people face. They decide they want something, then they set a goal. Some people create a plan, others don't. But either way, they jump straight into action. There's also a group of people who never take action at all, and unsurprisingly, they never get anywhere. What I've seen over the years is this. Some people reach their goals without fully understanding how they did it. But I've never seen someone who knew how to achieve a goal, did nothing, and still got results. That means action is the most critical ingredient in reaching any goal. Most people live with this mindset. If I want something, I need to do something to get it. But the world we live in is dynamic. It's constantly changing. You're not in a vacuum. You're surrounded by other people with their own goals, needs, and priorities. That's why I developed a concept I call the movement. It helps explain what actually happens when you try to go after something. Here's the idea. Just by existing in the world, you're already impacting it. Even if you're sitting on the couch right now, you're putting pressure on it, taking up space someone else might want. Someone may like that you're there. Someone else might not. Even when you're doing nothing, you're still influencing the world around you. And every time you exert that influence, every time you take action, you trigger 3 types of forces. Opposing forces. These are the forces pushing directly against your actions. Think of Newton's third law. For every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. It's physics, and it applies to life. Supporting forces. These are the forces that help you move forward. Let's say you want to go to the movies with friends. Your spouse might push back. No, let's have dinner as a family instead. That's opposition. But maybe your kids are excited. Yes, let's go. That's a great idea. That's support. Neutral or interacting forces. These don't help or hurt directly, but they observe and can be influenced. In this example, maybe your parents are simply watching the debate play out with a smile. They're neutral. When you pursue any goal, you need to be aware of all 3: opposition, support, and interaction. And the key is this. Opposing forces will always exist, no matter what you're trying to do. Supporting forces will always be there too. But the real game, the real strategy, is in how you shift the neutral forces to your side. In our example, if you can get your parents to support your decision, that might influence your spouse to agree too. So next time you set a goal, do not forget these 3 forces. They always appear when you move towards something. I often meet with entrepreneurs, especially those in the startup and tech space, who are looking for investment. Whenever they pitch me, they show these beautiful charts. The graph always looks the same. Some moderate growth, and then suddenly, right after my investment, the growth shoots up like a rocket. I always laugh and ask, why does the growth have to start after I invest? Why not show a trajectory where things are already growing, and I come in to accelerate that success? They usually laugh back and say, no, we'll use your money for marketing, cut prices, crush the competition, and so on. And I always reply, you know, I can almost feel that, at this exact moment, your competitors are sitting in some other investor's office, saying the exact same thing. Here's the problem. When everyone tries to win using the same strategy at the same time, all that effort cancels itself out. That happens because you're not accounting for external forces. You're acting as if you operate in a vacuum, and you don't. So if you want to stop wasting energy and start getting real results, you have to clearly identify the forces that will work against you, the ones that will work with you, and those that are neutral, and learn how to bring the neutrals to your side. Always factor in these 3 types of forces before you set a goal or take your first step. Now, let's move to a second critical concept when pursuing any goal: understanding external forces. Unfortunately, many people completely ignore this, and yet, it's probably the most important factor in achieving success. Let me paint a picture. Imagine 3 people on a river. One of them is paddling against the current, day and night, 24/7, and staying in the same place. Another person doesn't paddle at all, but they've positioned themselves poorly, and the current pulls them away from where they want to go. The third person? They paddle strategically, only when necessary, aligning themselves with the natural flow of the river. Now, think about that third person's entire journey. How much time do they actually spend paddling? Usually, less than 20%. The remaining 80% of progress comes from external forces. They're letting the current do the work. This is the same in business. The most successful people use their environment. They leverage momentum, timing, trends, and they conserve their own energy by letting the world carry them forward. Let's use another example. Fishing. The first fisherman casts a single line and hopes for the best. The second one casts 5 lines, each with different bait, better odds. But the third fisherman, he studied the weather, air pressure, the exact type of fish he wants to catch. He knows their habits, their favorite bait, and he chooses the perfect spot where those fish are plentiful. Who do you think catches the most fish? Of course, the third guy. Why? Because he works with external conditions, not against them. At least 80% of the work is done by the environment. He just casts the right line at the right time. So never pursue your goals without analyzing external forces and circumstances. If you don't, you'll waste tons of energy fighting against things you could have used to your advantage. Believe me, I've spent years learning this the hard way, through trial, error, and mistakes. So how do you start recognizing external forces in everyday goals? Let's say you want to build a countryside home for your family. How can you identify the forces around that? Start with the opposing forces. They're usually the most visible. Where do you want to build it? If it's near a national park, or if you want to build in an environmentally protected zone, you will likely face opposing forces. Environmental activists, neighbors who do not want new construction nearby, and so on. These are easy to identify. They're visible, vocal, and often the first obstacle people face. At the same time, you also have supporting forces. These might include your own family. Of course, they want the home. Local authorities might support the idea if you are bringing development and infrastructure to the area. You might even have employees or partners if you're planning to develop a residential community together. Future buyers or co-investors who are ready to help bring the project to life. And then there are neutral forces, people who are watching from the sidelines, undecided. This might be your audience on social media. Maybe you're posting about your project, sharing its benefits, and trying to shift public opinion in your favor. With the right messaging, you can convert those neutrals into allies. When that happens, the supporting forces will become stronger, and they'll help defend your project, making it much easier to overcome resistance. In fact, this idea has deep roots. There's a quote from The Art of War by Sun Tzu. "A poor general wins battles. A great general wins without fighting." That's the point. You want to attract enough support from allies and neutrals that your opponents simply give up. They realize there's no point in fighting. It's just like physics or materials science. There's a concept called the yield point. You bend metal and it resists until suddenly it gives in. Once you reach that point, everything becomes easier. The same is true in business or goal setting. You want enough force on your side to reach that tipping point, where your competition, your critics, or anyone opposing you simply backs down. That is the ideal use of external forces. But if you try to push through everything by brute force, without reading the room, without strategy, you'll end up exhausted. It's like running on a hamster wheel. You chop off one problem, and two new ones appear. Just like the mythical Hydra. Sadly, this is how most people operate. And the root cause is always the same. They start chasing goals without ever considering the environment around them. I'm sure you've had moments in your life where something worked out effortlessly, almost like magic. And other times, no matter how hard you worked, nothing seemed to go your way. I've had both. And when I look back and analyze my own experiences, I realized something important. The times when things went smoothly were always the ones where I had factored in external forces. It wasn't that the money was easy, it just felt that way. Because most of the work was being done for me by the environment. I wasn't pushing alone, I had momentum on my side. Now, I want to hear your stories. Tell me in the comments. When did external forces help you succeed? When did they stand in your way? Let's talk about it. Because that's the whole purpose of this video. To help you shift your focus and to help you develop the awareness to see these dynamics clearly. To do that, you need exposure. You need to read examples, observe others, and recognize the different types of forces in real life. So take a look through the comments. You'll start to notice the patterns, the resisting forces, the supporting ones, the neutrals, and how people manage to use them to their advantage. Now the question is, how do you actually move toward your goals the right way? Step 1. Clarify your intention. Before anything else, define your true intention. This is where many people go wrong. They set goals, but they never stop to identify their deeper motivation. What is intention? Intention is your internal declaration, a declaration to the Creator about what you truly seek. Sometimes there's a goal you express outwardly, but there's also a goal you chase internally. And these are not always the same. Your intention is about that internal truth, what you really want deep down. And here's why this matters so much. In order to truly reach a goal, your rational mind and your subconscious mind must be fully aligned. If they are not, your subconscious will become a resisting force. Remember when we talked about external forces, supporting, opposing, neutral? Well, those same dynamics exist inside you. So when setting a goal, always clarify your intention. Write it down. Be honest with yourself. Let me give you an example from my own experience. As you know, I run an educational platform. At one point, our performance metrics started to decline. So I came into the office and said to my CEO, "Listen, we need to correct our intention. We've strayed off course." My original intention was to teach people and earn money through that service. But at some point, we had flipped the script. We were trying to earn money from teaching. Those are two completely different things. In the first case, our focus, our soul, was directed toward people. In the second, it was directed toward profit. That shift affected everything, our actions, our decisions, and eventually, our results. When your intention is wrong, your audience will feel it. They won't become repeat customers. They won't become loyal clients. They won't recommend you to others. They'll just leave, quietly and permanently. So again, before you pursue any goal, write down your true intention. That's the foundation. Step 2. Assess the external environment. Once your intention is clear, it's time to analyze the external forces by asking yourself 3 questions. Is this the right time? Think of it like fishing. You don't go in the middle of the day. Fish bite early in the morning or late in the evening. Timing matters. And not just in fishing, but in everything. Am I in the right place? Again, back to fishing. You need to be near a body of water that actually has fish. The same logic applies to business or any project. Are you in the right location, the right market, the right platform? Are the conditions in my favor? Still thinking like a fisherman. Is the weather on your side? Is the shoreline accessible? What's the wind like? Translate that into life. What's the mood of the market? What's going on in politics, economics, public opinion? Are the conditions around you aligned with what you're trying to achieve? If the answers to those 3 questions are clear, it's the right time. You're in the right place, the circumstances are favorable. Then, and only then, do you move to step 3. Step 3. Make your plan. Now that you have your true intention, a clear understanding of external forces, you are ready to create a plan. And that plan should reflect all 3 pillars: your intention, the external reality, your concrete actions. Then you act with clarity, with confidence, and may success be with you. Most of the strategies and tools I share on this topic come from real experience. I usually go into more detail over on Telegram, so if this was useful, the link is below. Make sure to join. And finally, please never forget 2 key truths. We do not live in a vacuum. We live in a constantly shifting environment. In a society full of people, each with their own goals, their own priorities. Your job is not to fight them. It's to navigate among them with wisdom. The most powerful external force in existence is the Creator. Align your intention with something greater than yourself, and you will find strength and support that cannot be explained by logic alone. Fix your intention, or better yet, write it down. Because in reality, you will not achieve your stated goals, you will achieve your true intention. That is why it is so important that your intention and goal are aligned. If they are not, you will always feel like something is off, even when you succeed. And third, always take external forces into account. Because without that, you'll be like someone rowing 24/7, but against the current. Endlessly exhausted, making minimal progress. So here's the formula, one more time. Clarify your true intention. Evaluate the external forces. Then build your plan and take action. Wishing you health, good fortune, and a fulfilling life.